My sister and my mother destroy the family when they become obsessed with my ex, the stalker, but now the whole family has excluded them, and they can only talk to me through the lawyer. I started dating my brother's best friend when I was 16. We were together until I graduated from high school, when he proposed, and I rejected him. There was a lot of drama with my family asking me to reconsider because we could have a long engagement or make a reconciliation promise. My relationship with my brother, who is 36, suffered for a while, but with my sister, who is 32, it never recovered. She was convinced that my ex was the best choice for me and became unbearable when she started dating my ex's brother. My siblings would invite my ex everywhere, even on some family vacations, but I said nothing since he was also their friend until my sister started pressuring us to get back together. My sister did everything from trying to set up blind dates to making us share a room during vacations. No matter the occasion, my ex was always invited. After a while, I got fed up and asked my parents to intervene. They were clear with my siblings and stopped inviting my ex. It got a little better, but while my brother stepped back, my sister did not. Everything fell apart when I met my husband during a semester abroad. He was from another university but the same country, and we just connected. It was magical for me, and we got engaged after dating for a year. My family was thrilled for me except for my sister. She kept insisting that I was in the honeymoon phase and would get over it. Clearly, I didn't, and after many, I can't express how many fights and attempts to get us back together, I made it clear that if she tried anything again, I would stop talking to her. What did she do after that warning? She made me her maid of honor and asked me to spend all my time with a bridal party, meaning with my ex, and assigned one of her friends as my husband's escort. We didn't realize until we were at the reception, and the poor girl tried to flirt with my husband. My sister said that since we weren't married, it was okay to explore things with other people. I left the party, and the next day, I talked to my parents and brother, explaining that while I wouldn't make them choose, I would never speak to my sister again, and if they tried to fix things between us, I would simply cut off contact with them too. My mom was devastated and tried to negotiate, but my dad and brother said they would respect my decision. Besides 2 attempts by my mom, I haven't spoken, written, or anything to my sister in the last 6 years. My sister has tried everything to reconcile with me, from gifts to tantrums, but I simply don't talk to her at all. If we're at a family event or dinner, I just act like she doesn't exist. At first, she would make sarcastic comments or try to create drama, but since no one supported her, she gave up. She had a meltdown when she was informed that she was invited to my wedding but wouldn't be part of the preparations. My brother says he feels guilty for allowing it for so long, and his relationship with my ex has suffered since they still talk, but they're not as close as before. The problem. My mom's birthday was a couple of weeks ago, and I finally announced that we are expecting our first child. It's not the first grandchild, but the first granddaughter. Everyone was very happy except my sister. My mom noticed this and asked me to have tea the other day. My sixth sense told me not to go, but I wanted to be positive. The first thing I noticed upon arrival was my sister's car. Then, upon entering, there were my sister, her husband, my ex, and my ex's mother. They wanted to stage an intervention because my childish tactic had lasted too long. My ex said he was just trying to be romantic, but understood that I didn't appreciate it. His mom said I was just hurting my sister for wanting the best for me, and she had already apologized, so I needed to forgive her. I was texting my family, dad, brother, and husband, while looking at my mom in disbelief. My brother-in-law had the audacity to tell me that I was a hurtful person and needed to learn to act like an adult since I was going to have a baby. Then my mom started reading a letter about how hurt she was because her daughters weren't close, how my sister was wrong but had good intentions, etc. My sister then read her letter and started crying, basically saying another version of what the others said. I didn't say anything to anyone. I just sat there until my brother arrived. He was angrier than I had ever seen him. He grabbed my things and told them he was really disappointed and disgusted. We left and sat in his car until my dad and husband arrived. By then, I was just sobbing, and he kept saying sorry. I'm not sure what happened inside, but I emailed everyone except my mom with my lawyer's contact information and said that I didn't want to be contacted by any of them ever again, and if they did, I would go to the police. No one has contacted me, but I know from my dad that my mom and sister are hysterical. They told him they hoped to mend things and that my sister could be in my baby's life, maybe even be the godmother. My dad is staying with my brother right now. They support me, but some others in the family do not. Even mutual friends have called me because they are worried about my sister's well-being and ask what happened since she's saying my husband is pulling me away from my family. I hate having my issues public, but I went the public route and posted a long message on Facebook about everything that happened. It's affecting my sister, brother-in-law, and ex, which, while not 100% intentional, I feel they deserve. Now my mom has been inconsolable, which makes me feel bad, but not as bad as she made me feel with her little intervention. I agreed to have a chat with her a few days ago and set ground rules for any future interaction, including therapy, family therapy, clear boundaries, no sharing information about me with my sister, and separate holidays. Most importantly, if she ever does something like this again, I will cut her off for good. She thinks this is too much but is willing to do it. She thought it meant immediate access to baby news and that everything was resolved, but I told her it's a process and she needs to prove she has improved. My dad and brother refused to talk to my sister and keep apologizing for not stopping it sooner. We have forgiven them as they were able to move on and grow. My husband supports whatever I decide, but my mother-in-law does not. She is sure cutting my mom off from her grandchild is not the way to go, but ultimately it's my decision. I'm torn about what to do with my mom.
Update 1.
The edit I wanted to publish but couldn't. I want to thank you for the amount of support and advice so far. I want to give a little more information that is in my comments as there are too many to respond to individually. My ex and I broke up when I was 18. He is now 37. The reason for our breakup was that I didn't want to get married or engaged. My sister's insistence comes from wanting both of us to marry brothers and be best friends. My mom has always been very nice to my husband, but I'm starting to think it was all a facade, which makes me very sad. My ex has been with other people since the breakup. He also has 2 children with an ex but has never married. My sister says it's very romantic because he always wanted to marry only me. I should also mention that his obsessive behavior is not only towards me. I know from rumors that it was very similar with the mother of his children, but now he's focusing on me because my sister is encouraging him as she needs his help to get back on my good terms to be a good aunt. My brother started cutting ties with him when I told my parents I felt very uncomfortable with my ex around all the time. I lived away for university but visited my family during breaks. He also made a big effort to make my husband feel welcome, which further deteriorated his relationship with my ex because he felt betrayed by my brother. Today my husband is one of my brother's closest friends and only talks to my ex when it's about our nephew, my sister's son, or not to be rude. Both parents seem to support me not wanting to be around my ex so much, but I guess only my dad agreed. The day of the tea party, my mom told him she was making my favorite tea and sweets but that he couldn't stay as we would spend quality time together. My dad left to hang out with my uncle as he thought it was a nice gesture for my mom. He's very angry now. My husband tried a lot with my sister when they met, but now he just ignores her and thinks she's mentally ill. We don't know if she is, but still, there's no excuse for her behavior. They invited my ex and his mom because they thought it would be good for me to face the root of my problems with my sister, or at least that's their official version. Also, we are not Indian and not really religious. My husband and I are of the same race. There's also no wealth disparity between my ex and my husband. If there is, it would be in favor of my husband. Lastly, my sisters-in-law, both my brother's wife and my husband's sisters, are outraged by the situation. My husband and his sisters will talk to his mom about her comment. My brother and his wife are considering cutting off contact with my mom permanently. Meanwhile, they won't allow her to see my nephews for a while. The more I read, the more I think I might not have contact with my mom for the sake of my child. My husband is heartbroken at the thought that all his interactions were faked, but he says he's even more furious because she made me cry and doubt I am a good person. I realize there are still countless conversations to have with my family about my mom, but I will definitely seek a restraining order against my sister and ex.
Update 2.
The current state of my family. I had a conversation with my mother, but she insists she knows what's best, that I'm a bad person, and that she will get grandparent rights or even custody. I'm nothing like what she says, but still, I panicked, so we sent her a letter about it. My dad has moved out for good, telling her he couldn't support terrorizing his daughter. My brother and his wife also decided to cut off contact with her. I know it seems sudden, but I think I underestimated the level of desperation I had after the intervention. My husband told them after that they had to think very hard about what they valued and be kind and receptive to everything, but that they wouldn't raise a child in a toxic environment. Reason 3,271,637 why I love my husband. My husband is devastated by my mom and her falseness, saying she will never get anything from him. That's the revenge here. My husband and his sisters talked to my mother-in-law about her comment and made her understand why it was very out of place. As many of you assumed, she is a very loving mother from a loving family. My dad and brother keep apologizing for any role they played in this. My dad can't believe it has come to this point, saying it's still surreal to him. However, they support me no matter what and say they are willing to help me fight any ridiculous fight my mom or sister may bring up.
Update 3.
I want to thank the kind messages and words of encouragement. I decided to post here so it wouldn't be removed like the original. Things are good and bad at the same time, but I try to stay positive about everything. My brother and his wife sat down with my nephews and explained that grandma was sick and tried to hurt auntie and the little cousin. They explained that grandma would no longer be part of their lives, but that didn't mean she didn't love them. It was very difficult, but the kids are smart. They also told them that the other aunt would no longer be in their lives, but they didn't care because they didn't like her anyway, not just for me but because she wasn't exactly good to them either. My mom lost it when she found out and started claiming she had rights and would see her grandkids. My dad is looking for a permanent place but will stay with us until January, mainly because my brother's mother-in-law will be visiting, and we have the space. He's very sad. He has already called divorce lawyers, moved things from the bank, etc. He's been getting countless emails, messages, and calls from my mom but doesn't respond to anything. The lawyer told him not to block her for now. He considered maybe forgiving her, but I had a big spike in my blood pressure a couple of days after my last post here because she decided to come to my house with my sister. My sister had never been to my house. My mom knew I didn't want her there, but I guess that didn't matter anymore. The cleaning lady let them in as she knows my mom, and I haven't had time to inform her she was no longer allowed. I had just returned from running some errands and saw the car. This time I didn't go in. I called all my relatives, and my sister-in-law, my husband's sister, was the closest to me. She confronted them and told them either they left or she would call the police for trespassing. They left, and I started feeling bad. We went to the doctor, and they told me all the excitement wasn't good and I needed to start relaxing, or I could harm the baby. My dad went home with my brother, my uncle and my husband, and took everything he could think of. My husband says my sister was there too, and kept yelling at him that he had destroyed her family. My dad told my mom and sister they almost killed the baby and didn't want to talk to either of them again. My sister kept texting my brother, begging for help, but it won't happen. I'm devastated and very sad for my nephew as he's losing a lot of his family because his mother has some crazy ideas, but it is what it is. As for custody and grandparent rights my mom wants to throw around, my lawyer sent her a letter stating she caused harm to my health and the baby, and if she continued harassing me, it would become an official legal matter. My brother also sent a letter using her harassment towards me. Both my mom and sister have refused to go to therapy. They may be mentally ill, but with all this coming to light, it's obvious they have been in agreement for a long time. I will focus on spending the holidays with my family, staying healthy, and going to therapy.
Update 4.
Hi, I have received some requests for an update and had a bit of time, so I thought it would be fitting. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for your comments, messages, and well, all the advice, because I feel like we owe you for being even more paranoid than we were being. A couple of people asked what method we used to find out the baby's gender. I announced it after 20 weeks. The reason we waited so long is that we experienced a loss in the past, which we were preparing to announce when it happened, and we wanted to be sure and feel secure about the announcement. Also, we were naive enough to think it would be special for my mom, and they were right. After posting, I handed everything over to my husband, and he read your messages, comments, and advice for a few days. We went through the house and fortunately found nothing, but we felt extremely insecure, so we moved to a hotel with my dad. But then we realized there was a tracker on my pet's vest. He is a very small dog and gets cold a lot, so he has a fun vest. I would never in a million years have thought to look there, but we discovered the tracker when my dad walked him around the hotel area, and my sister came to ask him about me and reconciliation. He was really upset, so we decided to move. Fortunately, we can afford it. We are renting for now and also renting our house, so it's not empty. I used to love that house, but now I feel it's ruined and stained somehow. Unfortunately, my parents' house feels the same, and not just for me. Everyone, my brother, husband, dad, sister-in-law, even my husband's family, changed our numbers, bought new electronic devices, and notified employers, friends, and the police. We also started therapy and family therapy. My dad and brother feel extreme guilt over the situation, although I have truly forgiven them, but we are healing as a unit. My sister and mom insist they are not wrong and don't need therapy. My dad made a new will in which my sister's son receives a trust fund and some inheritance, but my sister gets a symbolic amount. He is really done with her. I felt bad for her but decided to focus my energy on my baby. She's here, and we are blessed. It's not the experience I imagined since my mom is not around, but so many friends and family members have truly surprised us. In the end, we were so paranoid that we started testing some people we weren't sure about by telling them I was about to give birth. It worked wonders. We found out who was still giving information to my mom and sister and eliminated them. The rest understood when we explained the reason. My ex, who my friends now call Bates, has been saying the baby is his because we have been having a passionate affair due to my undying love for him. No one believed him, but it made my husband contact Bates' employer and tell them all the craziness. In short, he was suspended pending an internal review. I'm almost sure he will be fired as they have asked for more and more information and seem really regretful. My mom has tried to find us, but all the people who know our location have cut contact with her. My dad's lawyer sent her a letter stating that due to her instability, all correspondence would be through lawyers from now on. We have been just us and my dad because I felt terrible for him being alone. He promised me he would be fine and that nothing is my fault, but I still feel awful. He has been the best baby caregiver, feeder, and diaper changer in the universe. My nephews are as loving as ever, and my dad even had a visit with my sister's son. It came up because she kept making videos threatening to harm herself if my husband didn't stop pulling her family away. So my dad emailed her about seeing her son and told her he would call the police about her threats. So it seems that has stopped everything. Lastly, someone mentioned I gave Bates false hope. Couldn't be further from the truth. I spent years uncomfortable thinking he would get over me. Then after talking and meeting my husband, I spent a lot of time fighting my sister about it. I had a very long engagement, so I got married after my sister. I still love my mom and sister, but I choose a healthy life for me and my family over that love. I have discovered so much loyalty, love, and compassion throughout all of this. Strangely, I feel lucky it all exploded. I hope this isn't too rambling.
Big hugs from me. Update 5.
We officially moved into a new house with my dad living in the guest house. We had many discussions both inside and outside of therapy and decided that although it would be nice for him to be with us, we all need our space. We're still renting the old house and will decide what to do with it later. My dad has the grandchildren all together about 3 times a week now. He still has to see my sister's son separately as she refused to let him take the child unless she knew where we lived, which to be fair is normal, but considering she is crazy, we don't want her around. My mom complained to the lawyers about how unfair it was that my dad still gets to see all the grandchildren, but there's nothing she can do about it. About a month ago, my dad told me he had a confession, and my stomach began to hurt, dear reader. He pays for my sister's son's education and care, which is why she still lets him see the boy. He felt very guilty about hiding it and didn't want to keep secrets. I assured him there was nothing wrong with it and please not to feel bad. On Mother's Day, my dad received an email with a link to an Instagram account where they made a sad video about my mom and how most of her family had abandoned her and that Santa is my sister for being there for her. It was really pathetic and made me furious, but I just sent it to the lawyer. My dad officially filed for divorce in May, and the process is still ongoing. My mom insists he is wrong, but my dad said he would rather drink bleach than go back with her, so I think that's final. My brother and husband took my dad out for Father's Day and had a great time. My sister posted many things that day, but they managed to block my dad, so he didn't even find out because we wanted him to enjoy the day. They also took a camping trip with the kids, meaning they went to a hotel, rented a suite, and put up a tent in the middle area for the kids and a small tent for the baby. Honestly, having the baby is one of the best things that has happened to me, and seeing my husband be the amazing father I knew he would be makes me so happy. It's tiring, but we have so much support that I feel grateful beyond anything because I have my pillars by my side. My sisters-in-law and I now have a little calendar to share things that all the kids can do based on their age and if they want to. We want everyone to know they don't need to spend time with people they don't like, and their voices matter. Right now, everyone is obsessed with the baby, saying they are her protectors, and we have little brunch gatherings, etc. Honestly, family time is now a pleasure and not a headache without my sister there. I know it's wrong to say, but she just sucks the positivity out of the room. My mother-in-law also loves spending time with the baby and stays in the guest room about once a week. She asked kindly and said she didn't want to take the baby for sleepovers or anything like that. I feel respected and heard by her, and yes, I have broken down sometimes because I miss my mom a lot. I miss the mom I had or thought I had, not the one who told me I would be a terrible mother or that I was a hateful woman. My therapist says it's a marathon and to focus on the good. Speaking of the good, Bates was fired. Not only that, but his reputation in his industry wasn't just damaged, it was damaged at a nuclear level. Also, his brother's reputation was affected, but since my brother-in-law isn't in an industry that cares much about reputation, he still has his job as far as I know. Bates sent me a 12-page letter on both sides, apparently single-spaced, about how hurt he is because I'm denying him what's his, and my husband is so threatened by him that he had to go and destroy him professionally because he wouldn't be able to destroy anything else. I said apparently because I didn't read it. My lawyer did and gave me a summary. I also heard from rumors. I don't ask people, they just tell me as they know he's stalking me, that his children's mother moved away, and he didn't even care and said it was for the best. This man doesn't even care about his kids and wants to play family with me and the baby. Sadly, he won't be homeless or anything because his mom already let him move back in with her, so I doubt he'll learn anything from this. It's not the most spectacular update, but it's what it is. Oh, and my husband burned or donated every item given by my mom or parents with my dad's blessing. He says life is too short to give her space in his life, even with memories.
Update 6.
Hi Reddit, it's been a while. I have some updates for you, but first, I want to thank you for all your comments and messages. Every time I log into this account, I mostly get positive things, and I appreciate it very much. I'm not sure if anyone will read this, but for those who want updates, they are mostly good. That said, let's get to it. My parents are now divorced. After many fights and tantrums from my mother, she got the house and a lump sum, but that's it. My dad is like a new man, and we are all very happy for him. A little backtrack to when all the drama happened, we didn't fire our cleaning lady. She is a woman who has been helping my husband's family for decades and was very stressed about losing her job because of what my crazy family did. Also, we're not careless, and she's not polishing floors on her knees or anything like that. In any case, my dad talked to her and told her she was on paid vacation and until we had a new house, please wait for us if she wanted, but absolutely she was not fired. She was very happy about this, and her family was too. My dad started receiving food and things from them from time to time because they were very grateful for what he was doing for them. Well, she has a sister who owns her own nail salon, and my dad is now dating her. She is a very lovely woman and has grown children, so she understands the dynamics that occur sometimes. He has been very clear he won't move or marry, and she likes that because she loves her independence. My mom nearly had a stroke when she found out about his new relationship and kept saying it was a late midlife crisis and he had to resort to being a sugar daddy. This is obviously what I heard because I have no contact with her, but the last thing I heard is that she is having a hard time. She's having issues because she was never good at budgeting and relied on my dad to stop ridiculous purchases. My sister is also going through problems because my dad no longer helps her financially. You see, he was willing to continue helping for the sake of my nephew, but then things got very ugly. My nephew started calling my daughter the love child, saying she wasn't with her real dad, called my other nephews delusional, and during a birthday party, even pushed one of my nephews from my husband's side, saying they weren't cousins to my daughter, only he was. The kids were perplexed and so confused, but immediately told an adult. My dad talked to him, but he kept repeating it. He talked to my sister, and she said she couldn't do anything to stop a child from telling the truth, and don't kids always tell the truth? He told her until there was a change, he was cutting them off. She panicked and cried, but is also very stubborn. So now my nephew goes to public school because my husband made my dad cut them off. Bates, well, he's still unemployed. I know I was cryptic about it, but he was in an industry related to vulnerable women and some harassment-related things.
Ironic, right?
That's why he was fired. The organization he was in didn't want it to splash back on them. I have received 2 more very long handwritten letters from him, and since he only has my lawyer's address, guess who has the honor of receiving, reading, and filing those rants? I love my lawyer, and he's a champ. Other than that and the gossip, I haven't had any issues related to him except for one. I was at the supermarket, and a random woman approached me to ask if my daughter was Bates' baby. I was speechless and in shock. I asked what she was thinking, and she said he has a photo of us on his profile, and I should be ashamed of myself for hurting such a good man. Turns out, he is still going with the narrative that my daughter is his, and I loved him so much. All that is old news, but what really impacted me was the comment about the photo. This isn't a photo that has ever been public or anything like that. It was sent once to a family group, and that's it. I told my husband immediately, and he was furious but composed. We decided to unmask the mole. In short, it was my dad's 2 sisters feeding information to my mom. My dad was so disappointed but also didn't hesitate to cut them off. They still beg him to talk to them. My brother and his family are doing very well. We see them a lot and have been on some family vacations since the last update. They are also no contact with my mom and sister. My sister-in-law is actually very happy about it because it turns out she wasn't a fan of our mom but kept the peace. My in-laws are still lovely too. We now allow my mother-in-law to babysit overnight, and she is delighted with it. Sometimes she has all her grandchildren under one roof, and they all love being with her. She is a former flight attendant, so her favorite game is pretending they are on a plane. In general, they love her, and we know she is good with our daughter, so we don't worry. She had to make her social media private because my mom kept harassing her. I'm sure she is extremely jealous, but she brought it on herself. Finally, my husband keeps me sane whenever small things come up. We are thinking if we should have another baby or maybe adopt one. We haven't decided yet. We have a great support system and the privilege of having these conversations. I still miss my mom a lot. Sometimes I cry when I realize there are milestones I can no longer share with her, but she is a bad person, and my family's safety is more important. Last fun fact, Bates was fired. Not only that, but his reputation in his industry wasn't just damaged, it was damaged at a nuclear level. Also, his brother's reputation was affected, but since my brother-in-law isn't in an industry that cares much about reputation, he still has his job as far as I know. Bates sent me a 12-page letter on both sides, apparently single-spaced, about how hurt he is because I'm denying him what's his, and my husband is so threatened by him that he had to go and destroy him professionally because he wouldn't be able to destroy anything else. I said apparently because I didn't read it. My lawyer did and gave me a summary. I also heard from rumors. I don't ask people, they just tell me as they know he's stalking me, that his children's mother moved away, and he didn't even care and said it was for the best. This man doesn't even care about his kids and wants to play family with me and the baby. Sadly, he won't be homeless or anything because his mom already let him move back in with her, so I doubt he'll learn anything from this. It's not the most spectacular update, but it's what it is. Oh, and my husband burned or donated every item given by my mom or parents with my dad's blessing. He says life is too short to give her space in his life, even with memories.